Welcome to the product presentation of d.velop Sign, the e-signature of the d.velop platform. First, I'd like to give you a brief overview of what we will be looking at together in the next few minutes. We'll talk about why I should even introduce a digital signature in my organization. We'll take a look at what it actually is. d.velop Sign, what does this e-signature of the d.velop platform actually look like? Then we will take another explicit look at European legal certainty and also at the issue of data protection. And finally, let's take a look at, so how do I actually get started with d.velop on the topic of digital signatures? So let's start with the question, why should I introduce a digital signature in my organization? When you take a look at the process, this relevance becomes very clear very quickly. We have the issue that in many organizations, documents are still signed via postal mail. What does that mean? We have a lot of intermediate steps, including what's called a classic media disruption, because we create a document, usually already in digital form, print it out, send it by mail, and then often have waiting times of 5 to 10 days in between, up until the document has reached the recipient via postal delivery and then comes back. There it is then signed by hand, and thus the contract is concluded. Now, there are already a few companies and organizations, they say, hey, but we're already doing it digitally, namely via email. Yes, that's true. There are similarly many steps here, and they have also partially eliminated this media disruption, but not quite yet. What happens in this process, the document is still printed out, you sign it, then you scan it back in. So I've created a kind of digital copy and then send it to my contract partner via email. This process is, as I said, already partially digitized, but it carries enormous legal risks because not all legal requirements are being met. And basically, there is really only one solution to make digitization 100% legally secure. And that is the way through what's called e-signature. And as you can already see, you save a lot on process steps and you maintain legal security. Digital signatures cut process costs, paper, printing, shipping, and employee salaries. Digital signature, you save on process costs by cutting down on paper, printing, and shipping costs, as well as the attributable salary costs of employees. You can speed up the signature processes from over 10 days to under 2 minutes by saving these process steps and also eliminating waiting times. You can sign documents from anywhere and on any device. This means you create a certain independence from location. Even in times of remote work, this benefits the current trend. And you are simply more flexible. I can sign from home office. I don't have to be physically present. I save myself the travel to a meeting and can simply serve my business partners, customers, suppliers, or whoever those people are, just serve faster. In addition, we save enormous natural resources. This results from the paper consumption, but also from the CO2 savings precisely, because you have to make fewer physical trips. And in the end, the probably most important point, media breaks are eliminated. That means we have a completely digitized process from the creation of the document through the signature all the way to archiving. That's basically the goal. Also, it's part of the d.velop platform. So what is d.velop Sign now? We've talked a lot about e-signatures in general, but now we want to get a bit more specific. And for this, it's worth taking a look at the d.velop platform, which we've already mentioned several times. The d.velop platform is the digitization platform of d.velop AG, where various d.velop products, together with our nearly 400 partners, offer a range of solutions to fully digitize business processes. And the e-signature is a piece of the puzzle to be able to realize fully digital processes. The e-signature takes on a role in the document lifecycle. That's a process. Documents typically go through, documents are created, they are checked, signed, delivered, archived, and maybe also renewed. In this process, the e-signature naturally takes on the signing part, and it is also, relatively simply put, the role that the e-signature plays in the entire document ecosystem. So what is d.velop Sign now? d.velop Sign is the IDAS and GDPR compliant e-signature software of the d.velop platform. It is developed in Germany by d.velop AG and operated in the OTC, the Open Telecom Cloud. The OTC relies on purely EU locations. We'll also address this topic later in this presentation. In addition, d.velop Sign collaborates with certified trust service providers to be able to verify digital identities without a doubt. And in this setup, d.velop works with these trust service providers to be able to issue certificate-based signatures. What does it mean now? But what about the signature processes? Signature processes should be digital and efficient, and with d.velop Sign, two processes can basically be represented. One process is that a person wants to sign a document alone. The second process is that multiple people need to sign a document together. The second process is probably the one that occurs most frequently. Let's take a quick look at that. If a person wants to sign a document alone now, in order to successfully and effectively do so, they can sign a PDF or an XML document with d.velop Sign. Activities can be accessed on a dashboard. What is the current status of my documents? What is your current activity status at this point in time? I am able to provide all types of IDAS signatures, such as including but not limited to the qualified electronic signature. I have the option to design my signature processes in German and English in the standard. If there are any other languages need for your use cases, feel free to reach out to us. We can also implement those together upon agreement. You have the option to choose between personal and seal signatures, and all signatures are LTV capable. LTV stands for long-term validation, which means that the signatures applied have validity over a long period. On the other hand, as mentioned, there is now the digital signature process involving multiple people. There are still a number of additional features that we have listed here in a striking way. It doesn't cover everything, but it gives a good overview of what is possible. For example, we can create digital signature folders where multiple documents can be signed together. I can customize the interface according to my company's branding. Templates for signature processes can be created so that you don't have to set the settings over and over again, but can save them once and use them repeatedly. And numerous other functions like signature sequences or the initialing of documents. However, these two processes only make sense if the e-signature is seen as a piece of the entire digitization strategy. This means that the e-signature must also be integrated into existing work environments. And that brings us to the topic of integration and interfaces. At d.velop AG, we have different levels of integration. We differentiate here from standard integration to very individual ones. Interface options. Standard integrations include the d.velop own products like the d.velop documents, or so-called well-known systems. These include, for example, SAP or Microsoft Word. In addition, we have the possibility about the d.velop Process Studio to define and mobilize your own processes that integrate the e-signature. And as a final option, we also have the Open d.velop sign-up to deeply integrate the e-signature into your existing work environments. Depending on your use case, you can then choose a level of this integration. Let's move on to the next important point here, namely the so-called European legal certainty. Because the most important thing about an e-signature is that contracts signed with an e-signature are also legally secure. This means they will hold up in court if there's any doubt. And here's the keyword, the so-called eIDAS regulation. Because until a few years ago, until the year 2016, there was no uniform regulation in the EU how electronic signatures should be created and applied. The eIDAS regulation changed that. Since 2016, The EDIS regulation has been in effect as a superior regulation for all EU countries, so that electronic signatures are uniformly recognized in the EU. This EDIS regulation was then incorporated into national law by the member states, but they are indeed governed by this common regulation. What that means, for example, there are the different types of signatures. The EDIS regulation defines 3 different types of signatures: the simple, advanced, and qualified signature. I don't want to go into detail about this form at this point. What you need to know is that you can easily implement all 3 types of signatures with d.velop sign. That means with d.velop sign you have no obstacles in terms of legal security. As mentioned earlier, d.velop collaborates with various trust service providers that have been legally recognized on the EU trusted list. Currently, these are D-Trust, the German Federal Printing Office, Swisscom, and A-Trust. And all trust service providers are allowed to issue legally secure signatures in the form of certificates according to the EU regulation. What does that look like now? If I want to verify a digital person or the digital identity with the help of a trust service provider, how does that work? There are mainly 3 different identification methods in focus. ID, the online ID function, video ID, or less relevant method, point of sale ID for on-site ID. These methods enable digital, namely the point of sale identification, where I can identify myself on site. Using these 3 versions, people can be digitally recorded and verified, for example in the form of a qualified electronic signature. What happens when a trust service provider issues a signature certificate? It stores the signer's important information in the document. First of all, what is this signature certificate anyway? A signature certificate stores all the important information of a signer in the document where the signature is applied. In this certificate, various pieces of information can be read electronically. For example, who signed? When was it signed? At what security level was it signed? Which trust service provider issued this certificate? And how long is this signature valid? All this information is basically the digital equivalent of a handwritten signature. In addition to the issue of legal certainty, we at d.velop AG are also committed to the issue of European data protection. Digital signatures serve maximum data protection because, on the one hand, they simply represent very personal data. Because my own signature seals my knowledge and my agreement to a key contractual transaction, the digital signature is often the starting point of a new business relationship, be it with customers, partners, or new employees, or other individuals. And the digital signature is, of course, also a proof of trust and commitment, as it confirms that I am indeed committed to a transaction. That's why we have established data protection as an important decision criterion for e-signatures, and we really want to commit to that. Where is this sensitive data and how is it processed? In our case, which cloud provider holds it and how are they processed? Specifically, in relation to our use case, this means which cloud provider holds this data, and brings us to the topic of choosing a cloud provider. What was important to us when we chose a cloud provider? On one hand, the so-called European data sovereignty, when we decided on a cloud provider. On one hand, the so-called European data sovereignty. This means we want to operate our signature solution on purely European data centers and thus create a clear distinction from American solutions. The second point was that we also serve very strictly regulated industries. For example, in the financial sector or healthcare, we have to meet very strict and crucial compliance requirements, such as regulatory standards. And the third point, which is now almost indispensable, is data also consumes CO2, or rather its operation. Software consumes CO2. And we want to position ourselves as pioneers in that by choosing a cloud provider that also acts in line with sustainability standards, all under the motto, build on trust. And we gathered all the criteria and ultimately decided to build on our partner, the Open Telecom Cloud. The Open Telecom Cloud is the European alternative for public cloud and is entirely based on the motto Europe for Europe. It is a European provider that manages its cloud infrastructure on purely European data centers and meets various other standards. Europe. It is a European provider that manages its cloud infrastructure on purely European data centers and meets various other standards. Feel free to take a closer look at the Open Telecom Cloud in detail after this presentation. I'm going to focus on the most important points here that were particularly important in our product strategy. The data centers of the Open Telecom Cloud are located in Amsterdam, Magdeburg and Beer. That means only in Germany and the Netherlands. And you as a customer can also decide where you want your cloud to be located. The Open Telecom Cloud comes with various certifications and proofs. That was the topic of the compliance requirements that we have defined for the various industries. Here you can see my overview of the BaFin, TISAX, and SGB requirements. We have these requirements or certifications are also categorized according to the different industries. Feel free to take a look at the necessary certificates based on your use case or classification, or feel free to reach out to us afterwards. We have listed them here according to the public sector, finance, and healthcare. And we've prepared this accordingly so that we can discuss it in detail afterwards. In addition, as I mentioned, we are also committed to the topic of sustainability. The Open Telecom Cloud has generated its electricity from 100% renewable energy, works with various sustainability initiatives in collaboration with the Fraunhofer Institute, and has already achieved a variety of certifications, which you can also take another look at afterwards. That's it for now on the topic. Legal certainty and data protection. As I said, it's a dry topic, but an important one. You really need to take a detailed look at these topics to get the overall picture. Now let's take a look at the software. I could have shown you a long demo now, but we're taking a different approach. We present our software through various short videos on our YouTube channel, where you can watch individual tutorials, like how to sign a document with d.velop sign, or how to invite multiple people to a joint signature process. You can check that out very easily in short tutorials on our YouTube channel and quickly in no time. So what are the next steps we should take together? You are probably still in the process of selecting a provider, which means you are looking at different providers and figuring out which product or solution best fits your portfolio. What can we offer you with d.velop sign? Here are the following 10 points. As an electronic signature solution, we are developed in Germany and operated exclusively on European data centers. This means we have a clear commitment to our European location and want to further promote this for issues related to compliance and data protection. We are a solution, IDAS and GDPR compliant. We have all IDAS signatures available as standard. That also means the qualified electronic signature. And our approach in product development is to make the e-signature easily usable for as many people as possible. It shouldn't just be usable by tech-savvy people, but really by everyone to create as much acceptance as possible within the organization. Otherwise, you have the option d.velop to integrate sign with numerous integration options into your existing work environments. The key word here was the different levels of integration, and try to be as approachable as possible. That means you have various options to request support from us, be it through classic personal support, extensive onboarding, or other options for intensive communication. So, for the next steps to really push the digital signature project forward, here, there are basically two options that 90% of our customers also use. One option is to have a personal demo of the software solution shown again, to indeed effectively get the function of a signature expert. Properly listed once, yes. This is especially relevant for the people who don't want to directly test it out yet, but just want to get a good overall impression. The second option is to just get active right away and sign your first documents or initial signature rounds completely digital. In that regard, our testing phase would be suitable to actively gain the first experiences with the digital signature. And with that, we've reached the end of this presentation. I sincerely thank you for your attention, and I hope that with this content we can bring the digital signature even closer to you and make it more tangible for you. Thank you very much and see you soon. Here we have a statistic brought to you by the Seoul Bitkom organization. They collect the so-called Digital Office Index biennially. The 2024 index shows digital signatures are the fastest growing in German companies and organizations. This shows its relevance, namely that the digital signature solution is the fastest growing digital solution in the offices of German companies and organizations. So there must be a certain relevance to this topic, that these growth rates are indeed occurring. And After all the technical topics, the question naturally arises, what does the electronic signature really bring me now? From a business perspective, so what does my return on investment look like? We at d.velop AG have also prepared a small tool for this. You can take a look at that together with our personal contacts. This is our so-called ROI calculator. You can take a look at that. How do my analog signature costs compare to my digital signature costs? In doing so, we make common assumptions that are tailored to your business environment. For example, how many documents are signed, how many signatures are needed, what security levels do we need? We'll go through that together with you, and then you'll get a list. What is your individual savings potential, both in monetary terms, meaning in euros, and also in terms of time? Really, our